Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this media briefing on Bill 56, the Local Measures Act. As a reminder, this is an embargoed briefing. Any materials or information that you take from this briefing cannot be shared publicly until the bill is delivered in the House this afternoon. With that, I would like to introduce the Honourable Rick McIver, Minister of Municipal Affairs. Minister.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you everybody for being here. This afternoon in the Legislature, I will be introducing Bill 56, the Local Measures Act. The Local Measures Act is part of our government's commitment to protect the lives and livelihoods of Albertans. Bill 56 essentially does two things. It aligns the local government fiscal framework with job-creating and sustaining changes in Budget 2021, and it modernizes Alberta's 911 system to ensure Albertans continue to have safe, reliable services when they call or text 911 during the worst moments of their life. The combination of the pandemic, the global collapse of energy prices, and the worst economic contraction since the 1930s has been difficult on Alberta. Through it all, we've been there to support Albertans. We will continue to be there every step of the way. At the same time, we've been told by the McKinnon report that Alberta's expenditures far exceed those of other provinces, and we know in the long run that is just not sustainable. That's why in Budget 2021, capital funding through the Municipal Sustainability Initiative, or MSI as it's commonly shortened, was reduced by 25% over the next 3 years. Municipalities will receive $722 million per year on average as we live within our means. However, this funding is front-end loaded and can be spread out over multiple years. This ensures municipalities have the flexibility to plan according to their individual needs. It also ensures job-creating stimulus projects will not be significantly affected. As part of these changes, we're delaying the implementation of the local government fiscal framework until 2024-25. When implemented, the LGFF will have baseline funding of $722 million. Funding will then rise or fall based on the province's revenues. The Local Measures Act aligns these changes with Budget 2021 by amending the Local Government Fiscal Framework Act. Alberta's government remains committed to providing municipalities with predictable, stable, and legislated capital funding. And we're delivering on our commitment to spend hardworking taxpayer dollars responsibly by identifying ways to get Alberta government's finances on track. The other significant change the Local Measures Act makes is to modernize the 911 system for the first time in nearly 30 years. The federal government has mandated that Canada's 911 system must be updated to what they call next generation 911 technology by March 2024. In Alberta, this upgrade will cost an additional $41 million per year. So to help cover some of the cost for 911 centres, Alberta is increasing the monthly 911 levy for phone users. The current levy on cell phone bills is 44 cents per month. On September 1st of 2021, this will increase by 51 cents, bringing the new levy total to 95 cents per month. It's important to know that all funds from this increase will go directly towards supporting Alberta 911 centres. This increase is in line with other provinces, and it is crucial to funding the costs of the federally mandated system upgrades. By amending the Emergency 911 Act, we're expanding legislation and regulations to include 9 secondary 911 call centres in Alberta. This will make the secondary 911 centres eligible for funding and require them to comply with the new 911 standards. Currently, only 20 primary 911 centres in Alberta are funded through the cell phone levy. Adjusting the wireless levy will provide the opportunity for proportionate cost sharing between municipalities and agencies that operate the secondary centres and cell phone users, because we don't want anybody who calls 911 to be left behind. Modernizing our 911 system will ensure Albertans continue to have safe, reliable services when they call 911. It will improve their ability to get help in an emergency. This will include the ability for users to text in real time with 911 operators. As our partners in domestic and sexual assault centers and law enforcement have told us, this is a crucial change to protect those in domestic violence and abuse situations. Put simply, modernizing 911 and upgrading to the next generation is truly a public safety initiative. First responders will be able to locate people faster, and by leveraging the growth of broadband in areas underserved by cell phone coverage, next generation 911 will make calling 911 much easier in rural and remote areas. The changes tabled today in Bill 56, the Local Measures Act, will support the goals of Budget 2021 by creating jobs as part of Alberta's economic recovery and improving Alberta's public safety system. The Local Measures Act protects lives and livelihoods. Thank you. I will be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Operator, can we open the line to questions? We'll have one question and one follow-up. Can we send in the first caller?
Justin Cook from the Edmonton Journal. Your line's now open.
Thank you very much. Hi, Minister. I'm wondering what's the reasoning for delaying the local government fiscal framework? Why was that intended? Why was that necessary? And what is it intended to accomplish?
Well, what you heard me talking about in my thank you, Justin, for the question, by the way. What you heard me talking about in my remarks is that the reduction in funding for MSI is in the neighborhood of 25%. To soften that blow and to give the municipalities the opportunity to plan and continue capital expenditures that they may already have underway. With the 25% reduction averaged over the 3 years, we did not want municipalities caught when they might have, especially based on the higher number of past MSI dollars and the addition of the stimulus dollars, $500 million that were provided to municipalities during COVID. We did not want them caught in the middle of capital programs where they'd have to stop, move people and equipment out, and then move the people and equipment back in. Those changes would be very inconvenient for their citizens and probably cost the municipalities extra money that's necessary for them to expend. And so we wanted to provide the flexibility for them to make the adjustment to the lower base of MSI funding.
Justin, do you have a follow-up?
I do, thank you. So the baseline for the local government fiscal framework is being reduced by about $138 million. Is that being redirected anywhere, or is that just a decrease to reduce costs?
It's a reduction to live within our means and to more closely align with what the McKinnon report recommended for us to fund things in Alberta more in line with what other provinces do across Canada.
Thank you, Dustin. Operator, can we have the next caller, please?
Next is Madeline Smith with the Calgary Herald. Go ahead, Madeline.
Hi, Minister. Some municipal leaders, notably the mayors of Edmonton and Calgary, have said that the recovery from the COVID pandemic will take longer than a year, and they're concerned about the capital grants that they receive being reduced after the investment that the government is making this year. So what do you say to them as we look ahead to recovery from the economic downturn and the COVID situation?
I would say to them that I understand they have a difficult job to do, and they're trying to meet the needs of their citizens. And by asking the province for more money, I understand they're just doing their jobs well. But I would ask them to do the same thing that their citizens have had to do, is to live within their means. and to do what our government is trying to do, is to, within the funding available, make the best possible decisions on behalf of their citizens, which I believe they do. But they need to continue to do that within the funding that's provided to them and the funding that they generate themselves through their own tax base. And I know that both mayors, both councils, both administrations of both cities are well able to do that. And I certainly appreciate that they're saying less money is more difficult for them than more money. No one can argue with that. But the fact is, we've got an $18 billion deficit in this year's budget. I think most Albertans would agree that all of us need to do what we can to live within our means while we're still providing the services to our citizens the best we can.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up?
No, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Operator, can we have next in the queue?
Next is Jeremy Appel with the Progress Report. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Sorry, I'm with Sprawl Calgary today, but nonetheless, it seems to me that you're radically reducing MSI funding in the next year and then over the next few years. And with this 911 announcement, you're increasing costs to municipalities. So what do you suggest cities like Calgary and Edmonton do once the MSI funding is reduced significantly starting next year?
I suggest that they do what we do, and the government of Alberta is try to live within our means to try to contain costs. For us, we had the McKinnon report that recommends that we try to bring our expenditures to more in line with the mainstream of Canadian provinces in order to reduce the tax burden on Albertans and to make sure we can live within our means. I think municipalities need to do the same. I think most municipalities, frankly, are in favor of the increase in 911. That's what I've heard, because it's a public safety issue. The citizens of municipalities are also the citizens of Alberta, and what I believe they all want is when they call 911 to have the most modern, efficient, and integrated system possible. And frankly, I'll give the federal government credit for this. It's the next generation 911 that they are, through the CRTC, are pushing across Canada. Will make it so that 911 centers across all of Canada are on the same platform, so that calls will electronically switch more reliably, faster, more accurately, and with less confusion when people go from province to province and area of Canada to the other. So I think that's a plus. And yes, I recognize it's going to cost more on the monthly bills for anybody with a cell phone, but I think as hard as that will be, I think when people do come around to the worst day of their life, when they have to dial 911, I think I hope it gives them some comfort to know that the switching of the calls will go more seamlessly, more reliably, and with the additional safety option of texting. Because not to be too dramatic, but there's situations where if someone's in danger, sometimes using their voice can put them in more danger by drawing attention from whoever's causing the danger. And if they can text for help at that very tough time of their life, I think that's an improvement that all Albertans will support.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up?
How do you respond to those who say that this 911 announcement is sort of a shiny object to distract from the MSI cliff that cities are going to fall off next year?
I'd say nonsense. Frankly, they're two separate issues. They're unrelated. And in fact, to give some context to what you called a cliff, let's remember that on top of the regular MSI that municipalities across Alberta received this year, the government bolstered that with $500 million in additional MSI funding. So I guess if you want to call it a cliff off from $500 million extra funding, you can do that. And the other 25% is, of course, what we said. It's in line with what the McKinnon report has recommended. And to soften that blow, as I'll repeat what I said a few minutes ago, because I think it's important in context of your question, is this allows municipalities who budgeted not only based on last year's MSI, but also on the additional $500 million for capital expenditures that our government provided them. We don't want them caught halfway through a program, which is why we're allowing them to pre-spend, if you will, or bring forward some of that $722 million on average of capital funding in the first year in order to make sure they don't get caught stopping and starting capital projects, which again will irritate their citizens and cost the municipalities more money. So we've gone to some length to try to accommodate the change that they're going to have to make, but we acknowledge 25% reduction in capital funding to municipalities is a real change, which will cause some real adjustment in the municipalities, and we thank them for their efforts, knowing that we all have to live within our means.
Thank you. We now have our last question on the line. Operator, can you open the reporter's line?
Final question is Catherine Grakowski with Alberta Today. Go ahead, Catherine.
Thanks for taking my question, Minister. I guess I'm confused. You said these two things are unrelated, so can you explain why they're in the same bill?
Well, to me, frankly, they're not large pieces of legislation. I just thought it would be more efficient in the legislature to deal with them at the same time. That each issue by itself doesn't require a lot of paragraphs in the legislation, and using it's a more efficient way to use the valuable time in the Legislative Assembly of Alberta.
Catherine, do you have a follow-up?
And so you're reducing funding for municipalities at the same time that you're offering up tax deferrals and tax vacations for various oil companies. So what has been the response in consultations with municipalities to this reduction in funding?
Well, municipalities understand that the government has an $18 billion deficit, and we need to address that. Having said that, Catherine, the municipalities don't like getting less money. I was a municipal elected person myself for 9 years, and I can assure you that every time I talked to the province, we didn't ask for less money. We always asked for more money, because that's doing your job right when you're a municipally elected person. And it was true when I was there, and it's true today. So when they ask us for more money, they're just doing their jobs well. I'm never offended by that. But we try to be honest with them and help and talk about the truly difficult situation that the province is in on the revenue side. I think most municipalities, even though they don't like the reduction in funding, truly understand that. And our job is now to work with them, because what I think is you can't tax your way out of the deficit, and you can't cut your way out of the deficit. You can't get there. Really, we need to work together with those municipalities now and try to grow the economy. That's the real answer. If we're going to have sustainable funding, sustainable programs in the future, is to work in partnership with municipalities, with businesses, and with our citizens to grow the economy in Alberta. And I think municipalities are very sophisticated. I think they understand that.
Thank you very much. That concludes the time we have for today. As a reminder, everything from this media announcement is embargoed until the Minister delivers the bill in the House this afternoon. Have a great day.